Welcome to Traveling Oracle, the magical podcast, where we talk energetics, spirituality, and how you can use this etheric knowledge to drastically change, transform, and up-level all areas of your life. Are you ready for the glow up? Let's go. Hello, my loves, and welcome back to another episode of Traveling Oracle, a magical podcast. It's so weird for me, this episode, because I normally record in the morning, like maybe half an hour or an hour after I've woken up, and I'm recording in the afternoon, and it just feels strange. And the reason I like to record in the morning is because after waking up, your brain is still like really connected to the spiritual realm, because when you sleep, you get reconnected to that energy. And I find that transmissions come through clearer. I find that I get messages a lot easier. And now I'm like doing it in the afternoon, and it's like, what is this? This is so weird. I don't like it. But anyway, I've been having a chill day today. I hope your week has been going well. I've just been feeling an energy of, I don't know if tiredness is a right word, more of like a need for deeper relaxation. Like, I took it so easy today. I took a nap in the middle of the day, and then I woke up now and I'm like, okay, I've got to do some work. Let's get to this podcast. But like, I am just sitting up in bed underneath my covers while I'm recording this episode. Like, that's how like chill and easy I'm feeling today. Are you guys feeling that way? Have you guys been feeling a need to like take it easy and to rest more this week? Let me know. I'm curious. But anyway, today we are talking about the second wound for inner child healing. And last episode we talked about abandonment. And there are 4 major types. And this week we are going to be speaking about rejection trauma. Now, if you're just picking up with this series for inner child healing, I suggest you start at the previous episode. I'm also going to interject that I have been hearing that I should create a container for inner child healing. And so I am working on a 4-week container where each week we addressed one of the major wounds when it comes to inner child healing. So it'll have journaling prompts, it'll have activities, it'll have meditations specifically for each wound, and activities for you to do that week, every day that week, to attack is such a harsh word, let's just use to heal that wound. So if you're interested in that, check the show notes below. There'll be a link for you to sign up, and you'll be notified as soon as that comes out. The other thing that I can really offer for people who have identified that inner child healing is really strangling or has a strong hold in their life is my one-on-one private coaching sessions, because there we can go deep into your specific flavor of trauma, if that makes any sense, because we can all suffer from different types. We can all have abandonment wounds, but each of us have it in a varying degree, or each of us has a different flavor of abandonment, and it's really helpful to get help for your specific issue, for your specific struggle, and to understand the ways in which that has specifically affected you, and then figure out from there specifically how we can figure out what you need to heal for your flavor. So if you're interested at all, there will be links down in the show notes for you to check it out. So, rejection trauma. How is this formed? This is formed when, as a child, you were not responded to when you reach out for connection to your primary caregiver. Now, I want to point out that for some people, it will be that you were not responded to at all. But for others, your parents or your primary caregiver might have responded, but not in a way that you could recognize it as a response. Because it's very, very important, and I'm going to say this in all of the episodes, to notice that it is not only out of neglect or bad parenting that we develop inner childhood wounds. It can be simply out of our perception as children of even the good things that our parents do, our perception as children not understanding what they are and taking it in as trauma. Because that's the key to all of this. Your perception at that age, how you see things and how you internalize different experiences that have happened to you. Because the same bad thing can happen to 10 people and 3 of us internalize it as a traumatic experience. Through our eyes, it created this great emotional upheaval that we internalize as trauma, and the rest of them just saw it as a sad thing or a upsetting thing that happened, but it didn't really make that much of an impact. It's all about how we internalize things, how we internalized experiences as they happened throughout our childhood. So again, if you have a certain love language and your parents' and your parents' love language was completely different and they tried to love you daily in the way that they know how, but for you, you're not receiving it because your love language is something completely different. It's almost like trying to plug a device in, but the outlet doesn't match the plug. And so no matter how hard you try to plug your device into that outlet, it's just not matching and you will not get connection. And that's what's happening with a lot of us, especially a lot of us who, when we look back, we're like, I did not have a traumatic childhood. So how come I've come out with all of these wounds? A lot of times it's a mismatch of that connection where we weren't able to receive the love that our primary caregivers tried to give to us. And then for a lot of us, it was just blatant trauma. And those ones are really obvious and those ones are really deep. And so it's a weird thing where the obvious traumas are really deep, but the not obvious trauma is really sneaky. Because for a lot of us, we see the fingerprints of the trauma in our life. We can see where we're acting out as a result of these traumas, but we can't identify how we got that trauma, where it came from. But in any case, this is how the rejection trauma is formed when you reach out for connection and you're consistently ignored or not able to receive the connection from your primary caregiver that you are seeking. And so here are the symptoms. Here are where you can kind of identify the fingerprints of this trauma in your life. People with this type of trauma tend to undervalue themselves. You undervalue yourself. And if you listen to the last episode, you would remember we talked about this feeling of not enough. So some of these symptoms come from multiple traumas. It's not just one. Different types of trauma can share different symptoms. That's why inner childhood work is really important, because once you start working on one aspect, it kind of leans into all the other wounds and really has a huge impact in shifting and changing your life. So back to the symptom, you undervalue yourself. And as a result, you try to attain perfectionism at all costs. Because you are consistently ignored when you reach out for connection, you feel that it's something that you're doing. You're not doing something correctly. You're not acting correctly. You're not speaking correctly. You're not presenting yourself correctly. And so you form this complex of perfectionism. You find yourself as an adult trying to be perfect all the time in all of your relationships, in work, in your business, in everything you do. You try to be absolutely perfect. And one could argue that that drives excellence, and that's something very helpful. I mean, yes and no. When you have to repeat something 10 times when it was good enough the first time, and you're killing yourself and exhausting yourself to attain a level of perfection that just doesn't exist, that can drive you crazy and further root that complex into your psyche, that you can never do anything right, that you can never do anything the way you need to do it, that you can never just be who you need to be in order to attain love, in order to attain success. And so you're constantly chasing this level of being that just doesn't exist. That's maddening. That's the first symptom. Second symptom is you tend to be a severe people pleaser. You tend to be severe people pleasers because you are craving that emotional connection and you do not want to do anything that could possibly make that person take that connection away. You do not want to do anything to give that person the slightest bit of excuse to take that connection away. And this is one that really wreaks havoc in people's lives because you lack boundaries. You're not able to protect yourself. You allow people to cross your boundaries all the time just to please them. You're not able to protect yourself. You're not able to protect your happiness. You're not able to, I just heard you're not able to hold your power because your container is leaky. You can't even form a container around yourself to hold your energetic power because you can't enforce boundaries. And so your power is always leaking out. And what do I mean by that? Your power lies in the countenance or desire of someone else. Your power lies in whether or not someone else is feeling happy or whether or not someone else is feeling sad. You have no autonomy. And when you have no autonomy for yourself, you have no power. That one, I felt that one. The third one, and I'm going to do one that's really deeply connected to severe people pleasing, is making life choices based on the approval you will get from others. And why this one is super dangerous, because you'll wake up at 40 years old realizing I've created a life that I absolutely hate. I've created a life that makes everyone around me happy but myself. And I just finished yesterday recording a podcast with my friend Shannon on the Conscious Babe podcast, a really great podcast. If you're someone who loves listening to podcasts, go and check her out. And we were talking about the fact that there was a project done where they interviewed seniors on their deathbeds. And one of the most common regret that they found in these interviews was not living an authentic life. Not living a life that was true to who they are. And it makes me so sad to know that there's so many people continuously living a life that they absolutely hate, that they're absolutely not happy with, or people who have personalities, or how would I put this? Exert personalities that are not truly who they are. Think about when you watch movies and you see that girl who pretends to be dumb so her boyfriend feels good. Like that idea of needing to change yourself on such a foundational level for someone else's approval. The next symptom is always making negative assumptions about what others are thinking when it comes to you. And I used to see this play out in my life a lot, where I'll get ready to go out and I know I look good. And then I go out and a guy would come up and say, "Oh my gosh, you look so beautiful." And I would be shocked, surprised, flabbergasted. And it's like when those things happen, that's when I realize, oh, I am so shocked and surprised at this compliment, because in my mind, in the base level of my mind, I'm thinking no one else thinks I look great. Or I'm assuming all the people around me don't think I look good. That's like one of the simplest examples of how that plays out. Like always assuming that people don't like you, or always assuming or undervaluing the connections around you. This can play out in relationships too, in like dating scenes where someone is obviously showing you interest and you keep explaining it away like, oh no, he's not really interested in me. He just likes to talk to me because we're from the same area in the world. Or no, he's not really interested in me. He's just bored and wants to hang out because nobody else is available right now. Constantly explaining away connection because it's deeply rooted in your psyche that no one wants to connect emotionally with you. And it's a strange thing where you deeply yearn connection because it's been so sparse in your life in your early years. Yet when you find it, you sabotage it because your brain keeps telling you, nah, this can't be it. This can't be true. They don't really connect with you. They aren't really interested. And this manifests in relationships a lot with women when even if the guy doesn't give you any reason to suspect infidelity or anything like that, it's like you're looking for reasons to find that, or you're picking fights for no reason at all, when the reason actually is that you can't believe that this person really wants to be here, that this person really wants to be in this connection with you. So you're constantly looking for the evidence to support the subconscious story that's in your mind that says that no one wants to connect with me. No one wants to emotionally connect with me. And the last really big symptom is you normally attract people or partners who don't appreciate you or don't make you feel seen. This is a big one where you're consistently attracting the same type of person with the same type of issues. You're consistently attracting emotionally unavailable partners. You're consistently attracting people who seem great on the outside. The connection seems great initially, and then you find underneath that they're not appreciative of you or your connection. They downplay you. They don't value you enough. And so you get this hot and cold connection, or this abusive situation, or this emotionally abusive situation, or just someone who refuses to connect with you on the level that you need, or just on the level that you would need for a healthy relationship. This is another one that played out a lot for me in the past, consistently attracting unavailable persons. At first, it used to be unavailable in terms of someone who's obviously interested in me, but is currently in a relationship. And I'm like, what? Consistently, this would show up in my life in the past. And I'm like, what is going on? And as I started to address this issue from the inside, I started to see that shift from people who were not physically available to people who were physically available. However, they were emotionally unavailable. So people who would show interest, we'd go out on dates, we'd have somewhat of a good connection, but they just couldn't go that extra mile, and we couldn't get that right connection that's needed for a healthy relationship. And then as that changed, it morphed into something else. So that's the thing about doing this type of healing. You will see the changes in your physical reality as you address your inner wounds. You'll start to see things shift, and you can almost measure how much you've healed certain parts of yourself by these external results, by the external things you see shifting for you. So now that we've identified the fingerprints of this wound in our lives, how do we change it? And the good thing is the method for changing all of them is essentially the same. The only thing that changes is the subject of the method. So for instance, I will always recommend meditation. The only difference is we're going to use specific wording, and we're going to use a specific narrative in this meditation to specifically speak into and heal this trauma. The same thing goes for journaling. Journaling is a very, very helpful way. Last episode, I recommended that you write a letter to your primary caregiver. That's a form of journaling. So there's also like really good journaling prompts to help you to bring out the trauma, to help you to bring it out so you can see it face to face, and then speak into it and shift that trauma, shift or transmute that energy. So I would start by identifying where this wound has been playing out in my life. I would start by just checking all the different areas of my life, checking work or my business, checking my family relationships, checking my love relationships or my romantic connections, and see, where has this been playing out? Where have I not been able to hold my boundaries? Where have I been allowing people to step over the line with me consistently? Where have I been undervaluing myself? Where have I been trying to be so perfect and not being able to reach that? Where have I been driving myself insane trying to reach a level of perfectionism? Where have I been making life choices based on others' approval? Where have I been acting out as a result of this wound? That's number one. I would write that down, write down everything that comes up, and then I would identify, how do I feel when I'm carrying out these triggered actions? How am I feeling when I allow this man to cross my boundaries? How am I feeling when I am allowing these loved ones to cross my boundaries? How am I feeling when I am allowing clients to cross these boundaries? How am I feeling in these different relationships where I'm undervaluing myself and accepting a lot less than I deserve? How am I feeling when I'm redoing something really good a million times to try to achieve a level of perfectionism that doesn't exist? How am I feeling when I'm trying to present myself as this perfect person to the world? How am I feeling when I'm making decisions for my own life based on other people's wants? This is the core of the healing. Identifying the emotions around these triggered actions. Then, how can I correct this behavior? When I identify that I'm in the midst of committing a triggered action, what can I do to turn this situation around? Or when I know I'm going to meet with people who I consistently allow to cross my boundaries, what contingency plan can I put in place for myself to ensure that I don't allow them to do that anymore? To ensure that I am able to enforce my boundaries in a way that's comfortable for me? How can I stop these triggered actions and replace them with different actions that better serve me? And these are questions that I don't expect you to sit down and write an essay and write all of them down. Maybe that's what you'll do. But remember, wounding is a continuous process, as in this didn't just happen one time and then create this huge trauma. This is an ongoing thing that has happened in your past from different people. And so you've internalized it because of this recurring experience. It might have recurred through different people in different ways, but the underlying wound is the same. And as a result, you will not be able to do one activity for half an hour and completely heal a wound. And so make this a habit. Whether you say once a month, I'm going to do a week of inner child healing, or if you're realizing that you're really wounded in these areas, use this month and say, okay, each week I'm going to do an activity to heal this wound. That's why if you're going to be doing that, I highly suggest you sign up and get on the wait list for my inner child healing container, because it's going to be super powerful to help you consistently over 4 weeks connect with and heal this wound. Because the way to heal energetic wounds is through doing energetic work consistently until you've kind of like encompassed the whole or the entirety of that wound. It takes time. It takes time, and it takes the dedication to do this over a certain period of time. And it's worth it. It's worth it because these wounds attach themselves to every area of your life. Once you start working on these wounds, you'll start to see so much change in your life. You'll start to see so many of your relationships improving because you're removing the things in yourself that would be triggered by these people. You're removing the hurt in yourself that is causing rot, that is causing havoc, and that's causing negative emotions in your life. Because that's the thing. A lot of times we think, oh, if this person would just stop doing this, or if this person would just stop being this way, everything would be fine. But you cannot control those people. You cannot control anybody outside of yourself. So that line of thinking is just not helpful at all, and only serves to fan more flames to the fire, because you cannot control anybody else outside of yourself. The only way to change certain things is to go within and change yourself. Go within and change the way you are relating to other people. Change the way that you are not enforcing your boundaries. Change the things that you are accepting from others. Change the way you are undervaluing yourself. Change the way that you are seeing yourself. Healing the triggers inside yourself. This is the only way to change your reality, to change the things that are happening in your life, and to change the way you are moving through life. The last thing I will say that's a really great activity for this specific trauma is to ask yourself, where can I find evidence of people accepting me and choosing to connect with me? Because the root of this trauma is that you have tons of evidence in the past of people rejecting you or people not emotionally connecting with you. There's tons of evidence. Like, for some reason, our brain is very good at storing negative evidence. It is not hard to think about the last person who emotionally rejected you. It's not hard at all. And so to counter that, sit back and think in your life, where can I find the evidence? Where is the evidence of people accepting me? Where is the evidence of people connecting with me and happy to be in connection with me? What friends do I have that I absolutely know loves me for me and we have an emotional connection? What even ex or past relationships do I know that people, even though it didn't work out between us, that we had a really good emotional connection? Find that evidence and stack it up, because that is the ammunition that you need to counteract what your brain has already held as proof of the validity of this rejection trauma. And as you find evidence and stack it up against the evidence you've already held, you'll be able to dissipate that wound, dissipate the evidence that supports that wound, and start on that healing journey. My loves, I hope this was helpful for you today. I wish you well on your healing journey. If you're interested in the Innerchild healing container that's coming up, click the link in, I almost said the bio. This is not Instagram, honey. If you're interested, click the link below in the show notes. And I will see you guys in my next episode where we attack the next wound for Innerchild healing. Y'all, it's so weird because I have put off Innerchild healing personally for so long because I didn't think I had that much of an issue with it until I started to do the work for it. I was like, wait a minute. I have more Innerchild wounds than I ever could imagine. And it has impacted me in ways that I hadn't even realized. So it's so crazy. If you're feeling like, oh, this isn't something I really need to do, honey. Sometimes our trauma likes to hide from us and pretend it's not there, even though it's sitting in the driver's seat plain as day. Do the work, honey. Do the work. Okay. I'll catch you guys in my next episode. Love y'all.